discussing about the vitamins. As we know very well that vitamins are actually of two categories. One are known as the water soluble vitamins and the another one are known as the fat soluble vitamins. Okay. In the water soluble vitamins we have to discuss at least 9 vitamins. How we have to study the 9 vitamins? Because we have to study all the vitamin B complex and the vitamin C. Okay. In B complex we have to study vitamin B1, B2, okay, B3, B5, B6, B7 and B9 and vitamin B12. Okay, total 8 vitamins and the 9th one is the vitamin C. So in the water soluble vitamins we have to discuss altogether the vitamin B complex and the C. And in the fat soluble vitamins we have to discuss vitamin A, D, E and K. Okay. Now water soluble vitamins cannot be stored in the body, while the fat soluble vitamins can be stored in the body. There is lot of confusion regarding the vitamins, their source, their functions and their diseases and the symptoms. To avoid all your confusions, watch this video. You will be getting the complete information for the vitamins. Okay, let's have a discussion first on the vitamin B1. Okay, vitamin B1, commonly it is called as thiamine. Don't be confused with the thymine, THYMINE. That is the nitrogen base found in the DNA. Don't be confused with that thymine. That is thymine, THYMINE. This is thiamine, THIAMINE. So vitamin B1 is having the common name thymine. And what is its source? What are the sources from which we can get this vitamin? So wheat, gram, peanut, yeast, beans, eggs, meat, liver and rice bran. All are the sources of best sources of the vitamin B1 or the thymine. Now the question arises that what will happen if this vitamin become deficient in the body? If this vitamin become deficient in the body, person suffers from a disease called as the beriberi. Okay, person suffers from a disease called as the beriberi. Now, what are the symptoms of the beriberi? So the symptoms of the beriberi are loss of appetite. Loss of appetite means the person is not feeling to eat. Okay, so loss of appetite, person is not able to eat properly, right? Loss of appetite. Fatigue, he or she feels fatigue. Okay, sometimes paralysis may also occur in extreme cases due to the deficiency of the vitamin B1. Muscle atrophy. What is atrophy? Atrophy means loss of some body part, which is called as the muscle atrophy, and cardiomegaly can occur. Okay, and what are the functions? What are the chief functions of the vitamin B1? The chief functions of the vitamin B1 is that it is the major component. It is the major component of the coenzyme carboxylase, which is required for the carbohydrate and the amino acid metabolism. So the thymine was the common name. These are the sources. Deficiency disease was the beriberi. The symptoms were these one, and the chief functions, that is the vitamin B1. Now coming to the second vitamin, that is known as the vitamin B2. Commonly, this vitamin B2, which is the part of the vitamin B complex, it is commonly called as the riboflavin. It is commonly called as the riboflavin or vitamin B2. And the common sources from which we get the vitamin B2 is the cheese, egg, yeast, tomato, green vegetables, liver, meat and the cereals are the chief sources. Now, if the person become deficient in the riboflavin, then the following diseases may be caused. The number one is the cheilosis. Now, question arises, what is cheilosis? Cheilosis means fissures or the cracks at the corners of the mouth and the lips. Right? What is cheilosis? Whenever the person become deficient in vitamin B2 or the riboflavin, person suffers from cheilosis. What is cheilosis? Fissures or the cracking can be seen at the corners of the mouth and the lips. Okay. Not only this, the riboflavin deficiency also causes dermatitis. What is dermatitis? Dermatitis is a sort of the inflammation of the skin. Scaly dermatitis at the angles of the nostrils. At the angles of the nostrils, scaly dermatitis can be seen where the skin becomes swell little bit. Okay. Keratitis is the keratitis of the cornea. Means cornea is deposited by the keratin, that is known as the keratitis. And glossitis, what is glossitis? Glossitis is the inflammation of the tongue become inflamed. And not only this, it also causes the deficiency of the riboflavin, also causes sore mouth. So these are the deficiency symptoms. Now riboflavin, what are the chief functions of the riboflavin in our body? The chief function is that the riboflavin or the vitamin B2 combines in tissues with phosphoric acid. It combines in tissues with a phosphoric acid to form two major coenzymes. It forms two major coenzymes. One is known as the FMN and another is known as the FAD. FMN is flavin mononucleotide. FMN is flavin mononucleotide. And what is FAD? FAD is flavin adenine dinucleotide. Okay, and both these coenzymes FMN and FAD are basically essential for the cellular respiration. They are important for the cellular respiration. Okay, now coming to the third vitamin of the B complex. Okay, and that is known as the B3. Okay, B3 is also called as the nicotinic acid. B3 is also called as the nicotinic acid. Commonly it is also called as the niacin. It is also called as the niacin. And the source of the vitamin B3 are the fresh meat. Fresh meat is the chief source of the niacin or the nicotinic acid or the vitamin B3. Liver, fish, cereals, milk, pulses and the yeast are the chief sources of vitamin B3. And whenever the person become deficient in B3, then he or she becomes suffer from the pellagra. And this pellagra is also called as the 4D syndrome. Why 4D syndrome? D for dermatitis, D for diarrhea, D for dementia and D for death. Okay, the very first characteristic of the pellagra is dermatitis. What is dermatitis? Whenever the person become deficient in the vitamin B3, inflammation of the skin occur. Inflammation of the skin is also called as the dermatitis. Person suffers from dehydration, that is known as the diarrhea. Dementia is a sort of a mental disorder. The person becomes mentally ill. Okay, and sometimes the death may occur. And not only this, pellagra is also associated with, or the deficiency of the vitamin B3 is also associated with headache. It is associated with the fatigue. It is also associated with the mental depression. Now you must also know that what is the chief function of the vitamin B3 in body. So the chief function of the vitamin B3 in B3 in the body is that it is component of important coenzymes, okay, in the form of NAD and NADP, which are essential for the cellular respiration. Again I am saying component of the important coenzymes in form of NAD and NADP, which are essential for the cellular respiration. That is, NAD is what? Nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. What is NAD? Nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. And what is NADP? Nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide phosphate. Again I am repeating, NAD is nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide and NADP is nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide phosphate. Okay, so this was all about the vitamin B3. Now we'll be talking about the vitamin B5. Now have a look on the vitamin B5. Vitamin B5, its common name is pantothenic acid. And what are the sources? The yeast, liver, kidney, egg, meat, milk, sugarcane, groundnut, tomatoes are the chief sources of the vitamin B5. Now, what will happen if the vitamin B5 become deficient? So, the common symptom is the dermatitis, that is known as the inflammation of the skin. Not only this, person suffers from certain gastrointestinal disorders. He is also suffering from anemia. There is reduced secretion of the steroid hormones in body. There is a burning sensation and the itching seen in the foot, okay, and it is also called as the burning feet syndrome. Fatigue is seen, nausea, and the liver become fatty in the human being. These are the major symptoms, okay, when the person become deficient in B5. And what is the chief function? What is the chief function of the vitamin B5? It is an important component of the coenzyme A, okay, and we know very well that coenzyme A is very important in the cellular metabolism. Not only this, the vitamin B5 is important for the synthesis of a neurotransmitter, and that neurotransmitter is called as the acetylcholine, okay. Next is the B6, vitamin B6. This vitamin B6 is also called as the pyridoxine. It is also called as the pyridoxine, and the chief sources are milk, cereals, fish, meat, liver, and also the intestinal bacteria can synthesize vitamin B6. What will happen if the vitamin B6 or the pyridoxine become deficient? So the two diseases are dermatitis and the anemia. Inflammation in the skin occur and also the anemias occur. Some more symptoms are there which are caused due to the deficiency of the vitamin B6 are the convulsions. The person is feeling nausea, vomiting, as well as what happens, the mental disorders. And this vitamin B6 is having the function that it is important coenzyme, means the pyridoxal phosphate, which is an important coenzyme, is required in the protein and the amino acid metabolism. Okay, so these are the chief functions of the vitamin B6. Now next one is the vitamin B7. Vitamin B7. Now B7, this vitamin is also called as the vitamin H. It is also called as the vitamin H, and its common name is biotin. The chief sources are yeast, vegetables, fruits, that is wheat, egg, and chocolate. Due to the vitamin B7, there is no severe deficiencies, okay. There is no particular disease here, but there are symptoms, certain symptoms which may be caused in the body due to the deficiency of vitamin B7. These are that person is actually suffering from the skin lesions. Certain skin lesions occur on the skin part. There is loss of appetite. There is a great weakness, and the peculiar feature of the vitamin B7 deficiency is that the muscle pain occur. The patient complain of the muscular pain, okay. And this vitamin B7 is essential for the fat synthesis, or we can say that it is essential for the lipid synthesis, as well as it is important for the energy production. And coming to the vitamin B9, this is another group of the vitamin B complex, which is known as the B9, right? It is called as the folic acid. And the chief sources of the folic acid or the vitamin B9 is that it is synthesized by the intestinal bacteria. There are certain intestinal bacteria found in the colon region which are actually helpful in the synthesis of the vitamin B9. Green vegetables are also the sources. Soya bean, yeast, kidney, and liver are good sources of the vitamin B9, okay. Now what happens if the person suffers from the deficiency of the B9 or the folic acid? Then person suffers from megaloblastic anemia. It is a type of the anemia in which the hemoglobin content of the body becomes low. Not only this, the person suffers from stunted growth, retarded growth, and there is inhibition of the DNA synthesis. Also, person suffers from inhibition of the DNA synthesis, okay. Now what are the chief functions of the vitamin B9? It is essential for the synthesis of the DNA, okay. Particularly some purines and pyrimidines are synthesized with the help of the vitamin B9, and it is also important for the maturation of the blood corpuscles, okay. So this is the B9, okay. Now we have to discuss about the vitamin B12, which is very important, which is very important, vitamin B12. Now we are talking about the vitamin B12, the most important hormone of the vitamin B complex, which is a cobalt containing vitamin, and it is commonly called as the cyanocobalamin. And the chief sources of the vitamin B12 are the meat, fish, liver, egg, milk, etc. And the thing to be noted here is that the thing is that it is not at all found in the vegetables. Means you are not getting vitamin B12 from the vegetables. Okay. Now what will happen if the person become deficient in vitamin B12? So the person suffers from pernicious anemia. And what is the prime symptom of the pernicious anemia? That is the RBC is failed to mature. Means there is failure of RBC maturation. Okay. And B12 is very important because it is performing many functions in our body. It acts as a coenzyme for reducing the ribonucleotides to deoxyribonucleotides. It is also promoting the RBC maturation. It is actually promoting the DNA synthesis, and it is also important for, see here, that there is a in stomach there is a Castle intrinsic factor. In stomach there is a Castle intrinsic factor released by the parietal cells or the oxyntic cells, right? And they are responsible for the absorption of the vitamin B12 in stomach. Means in the stomach vitamin B12 is absorbed with the help of a Castle intrinsic factor released by the parietal or the oxyntic cells. Okay. Now here we complete all the vitamin B complex vitamins. Okay. And now coming to the next one, the next water soluble vitamin, and it is known as the vitamin C. This vitamin C is the vitamin which is destroyed by the heat. Okay. And it is commonly called as the ascorbic acid, and the chief sources of the vitamin C are lemon, orange, which are called as the citrus fruits, tomatoes, green vegetables, potatoes, pepper and carrots are the chief sources of the vitamin C. Whenever the person becomes deficient in the vitamin C, person suffers from scurvy. Scurvy is also called as the Celiac's disease, and the chief function of the scurvy is the bleeding gums. Means the gums bleed. This is the symptom of the scurvy disease. Not only this, there are more symptoms also which are actually caused due to the deficiency of the vitamin C. That is loose teeth, painful swollen joints, retard wound healing. Means wound healing is retarded, delayed wound healing occur, and also the growth is retarded, and there is breakdown of the immune system. Means person become immune deficient when he is actually suffering from the deficiency of the vitamin C. And this vitamin C is having some important function. It is essential for the formation of the collagen fibers, right? It is essential for the formation of cartilage, bones, teeth, etc. It is acting as an antioxidant. It is important for the absorption of the calcium ions as well as the Fe+2 ions, and it is also important for the formation of the RBC. Okay. And now we can start with the fat soluble vitamins. We know very well that fat soluble vitamins are of 4 types: A, D, E and K. Starting with the first one, vitamin A. This vitamin A is anti-infection vitamin. It is called as anti-infection vitamin. Its common name is retinol. And it is synthesized in the cells of the liver. Whenever we are eating some carrot or the source of the carotene, then the carotene goes and converts in the liver into the vitamin A. Yellow and green vegetables are the good source of the vitamin A. Milk, butter, kidney, egg yolk, liver and fish oil are also the chief sources of the vitamin A. Now, if the person become deficient in the vitamin A, right, it means he is actually suffering from 2 diseases. One is known as the night blindness, which is also called as the nyctalopia. It is also called as the nyctalopia, where the person is not able to see in the dim light, and also the deficiency of the vitamin E causes vitamin A causes xerophthalmia, in which the conjunctiva become keratinized. Okay, and there are some chief functions also of the vitamin A, that it is anti-infective. It is anti-infective vitamin. It is essential for the synthesis of the visual pigments such as rhodopsin, iodopsin, etc. It maintains the normal growth and differentiation of the cells. It also maintains the normal growth and differentiation of the cells. Now let's have a look on the another fat soluble vitamin, and that is known as, that is D, vitamin D. Now vitamin D, this is the only vitamin which is actually synthesized in the body, and it is actually called as the sunshine vitamin. It is also called as the anti-rickets vitamin, and it is the synthesized in the presence of the sunlight in the skin cells, and it is also found in the fish oil, egg yolk, butter, liver, etc. Okay. Now the question arises that when the person becomes deficient in vitamin D, what happens? So in the case of the children's, they suffer from the rickets. The vitamin D deficiency causes rickets in the children's, and if the vitamin D deficiency occur in the adults, they are actually suffering from the osteomalacia. Basically, rickets generally occur in the children of the age group 6 months to 2 years. And what happens in the rickets? That there is the bending of the bones become bent, and there is swelling at the joint regions. Okay, and in the case of the osteomalacia, the bones become fragile, they become quick fracturable. Okay, and what is the chief function of the vitamin D in the body? That it is regulating the absorption of the calcium and the phosphorus from the intestine region, and it is also important for the mineral deposition in the bones and the teeth. Okay, so vitamin D is very important for the body. Okay, now coming to the next one, vitamin E, another fat soluble vitamin, which is in common called as the tocopherol. In common it is called as the tocopherol, and it is also called as the beauty vitamin because it is concerned with the beauty, and it is also called as the anti-sterility vitamin because it removes the sterility and makes the person fertile. In the deficiency of this vitamin, the person will become sterile, or we can say that he or she will suffer from infertility. So it is also called as the anti-sterility vitamin. It is also called as the beauty vitamin, and the chief source of the vitamin E is the green vegetables, egg yolk, and the wheat, etc. Now what happens in the deficiency of the vitamin E? The person becomes sterile. Sterile means infertility occur in that person, and it is also responsible for the muscular dystrophy. And the chief symptoms which are caused due to the deficiency of the vitamin E is the anemia. Because why the anemia is caused? Why the anemia is caused due to the deficiency of the vitamin E? Because of the breakdown of because of the increased breakdown of the blood cells, the person suffers from the anemia. And the chief function of the vitamin E in the body is that it is acting as an antioxidant. It is also responsible for removing the scars and the wrinkles from the skin, and it is essential for the spermatogenesis. It is also important for the pregnancy, and it is also important for the lactation. Okay, in the case of the females. Okay, and the last vitamin, or that is a fat soluble vitamin, is the vitamin K. Vitamin K is called as the menadione. Commonly it is called as the menadione, or it is also called as the phylloquinone, and it is anti-hemorrhagic vitamin. It is called as the anti-hemorrhagic vitamin because it is actually responsible for the blood clotting, and it stops the bleeding. Now what will happen if the person becomes deficient in the vitamin K? So what will happen when the person becomes deficient in vitamin K? So the after injury, what will happen? The excessive bleeding will occur, blood clotting will not occur, or if it will occur, there will be delayed blood clotting, and the person suffers from hemorrhages. It is actually suffering from the hemorrhages. And because the role of the vitamin K is associated with the blood clotting, we can say that it is acting as an anti-hemorrhagic factor because it stops the bleeding. It is essential for the synthesis of the prothrombin in the liver, and we know very well that prothrombin is very important for the blood clotting. So if the vitamin K become deficient, person is not able to synthesize prothrombin in the liver, and hence the blood clotting will not occur and there will be delayed blood clotting. So we can also say that it is anti-hemorrhagic factor and it is essential for the synthesis of the prothrombin and in the liver, and it is important for the blood clotting. So dear student, this video was based completely on the vitamins. We have talked about the water soluble vitamins and the fat soluble vitamins. We have discussed about the vitamins, their sources, their common names, the deficiency diseases, the symptoms and the functions. This topic is very important for your board exams also. It is also important for all the medical entrance examination. So keep watching my videos. Please like and share my videos. Thanks a lot. We'll be coming back soon with new videos.